Over our last 3 videos, we've been working on making this pen, which we're calling the Spire 2. This is our Spire 1 pen. This was the first Kickstarter we ever did back 2 or 3 years ago. And we're working towards doing a second Kickstarter for this pen, the Spire 2. Now, these 2 pens are very different in how they are designed. There's really almost nothing shared between them. But we have some plans on doing designs on the side of this that will kind of bring some of this heritage over to the Spire 2. Over the last few videos, you may have noticed that we had some manufacturing issues, we'll call them, with this prototype of the Spire 2. But there's also some design things that we want to tweak on it. Scott is going to talk about some of the design changes we want to make to the pen, and then I'll talk about some of the manufacturing things that we're going to change to make producing the pen easier.
Yeah, so I think the first thing that we're going to be working on is getting this whole clicking mechanism to be 100% reliable. It works about 90% of the time, but we want it to work 100% of the time.
Works 100% of the time, 90% of the time.
Yes, as AJ likes to say. We also want to put some grippiness on the top just to make it easier to use and also feel nice. And also I'm going to be working on putting an engraving all the way around the outside. And so I'm going to be working on those patterns in the next few weeks.
What kind of patterns were we thinking about?
The first ones I'm going to be testing are going to be very similar to the Spire 1. And after that, I'm just going to be brainstorming anything that comes to mind. So we're going to be probably posting those and seeing what we like, seeing what you guys like. Yeah.
So what do you think of the feel of the pen? The weight in your hand, the shape, the texture of it?
Okay, so right now, I do think the pen is a little bit heavy. It does feel really nice to write with, but with the engraving, we're thinking that a lot of that weight is going to come off. It just says about half, but it probably depends on the engraving that we go with. So that will be really nice. And it'll still have a lot of weight to it and feel really premium. I forget what else you asked.
The feel of it in your hand.
So we chose the width of the size of the barrel based off of other pens we've played with in the community. And I really like width that we've chosen. It hasn't really changed over the course of the prototype, but that being said, I think that we're going to stick with this. It's really nice. It feels good to write with.
Do you remember what that width is?
I think it's 0.4.
It is. It's well, so the Spire 1 was 0.4 inches, which is the same diameter as the tactile turn pens and a couple other well-known makers in the community. Most of the other pens made by guys in the community, like Tactile Turn, are 0.4 inches in diameter. For whatever reason, that number was shockingly consistent between other makers. We decided to go with 0.375, 3/8 of an inch diameter, so just slightly more narrow, because we wanted the pen to feel more like a drafting pen and less like a fountain pen in your hand. And just taking off that little bit of material helps accomplish that. It also has the advantage where we can buy material that is already the right outside diameter and not need to turn that on our lathe, which remember is really limited in size. We can only do a 2 or 3 inch part on our lathe. How does the clicking mechanism work and feel?
As we said earlier, it works about 90% of the time, so it's fun about 90% of the time. I do think we need to do some experiments to get it to work 100% of the time, which you've told me that we're going to do a bunch of experiments on the geometry of the J-springy clicking mechanism, which I'm not sure you can see from there, but we've posted it on Instagram, so you can check it out there. We're going to get a much firmer spring in here, which should help as well.
So what are your thoughts on adding a pen clip?
So I'm a firm pen clip believer. I'm always carrying a pen right now. I'm not sure it's been in the video, but it's always there. I think every pen that we ever make will have a pen clip.
Except this one.
We tried to have a pen clip on our first pen, but it didn't work out. But that was a long time ago, or at least it feels a long time ago at this point. So never say never, but we will always try to have a pen clip, even if that pen clip is removable. This one won't be. Will it?
It'll be removable with tools. So we are planning on doing a 3D machined pen clip, not a sheet metal pen clip. It will be attached with a couple screws, probably like a number 2 or something. But you will be able to remove it if you want, but you will need to use a tool to remove it.
So made to have a pen clip, but if you don't want it there, removable.
or interchangeable.
In the future, there will be more pen clips, more fun pen clips.
So manufacturing-wise, there's a bunch of change on these pens. If you watch the last 3 videos, you'll see me kind of muddle my way through and use the phrase, well, it's good enough for prototype, more than I should. So the next prototype of the pen is not going to have any of those good enough for a prototype thing. It should be high enough quality for a customer to handle at the end of this next revision. Most of the problems that we had with the pen revolved around how concentric we were able to make the parts. So like getting the body together, I ended up using vice grips and ruining the finish that we had on there just to get it snugged up. And you can still see a line because the parts don't match up.
It also means that's not removable.
It also means the tip is not removable right now, which in the future it will be. So we're going to make a bunch of changes to our fixturing and just our general manufacturing process to get that concentricity. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a tombstone style fixture for the Pocket NC. This is a tombstone that we made for the watch project, which is on hold for now. We'll get back to it. But we will do a similar style tombstone to this for each of the different parts that we're going to make for the pens. You should see videos on making these in the near future. We are also going to be making the bolt in here on the lathe instead of on the mill. I will need to do a second operation on the mill to drill that cross hole, but really 90% of this part can be made on the lathe. It's really a lathe part, not a mill part. But I wanted to make this whole first pen on the mill, and so I was just stubborn and did it on the mill anyway. I'm still undecided how much of the tip I will make on the lathe. I may make that all on the mill. I may cut this contour on the lathe. Haven't decided yet. The other thing we need to do to streamline our process is to make a thread gauge so that we can measure the threads. They're 5/16, 48, little tiny threads that hold the pen together. The thread gauges for those threads cost about $250 each for the male and the female, so $500 for a set. So I'm just going to make my own thread gauges so that we know our bodies and our tips will always join together and we won't have to force them or custom fit each one. We want all of our parts to be interchangeable. When we've had more time to develop the system, I will do another video about how we are planning on producing these at more volume. I do plan on keeping most of it on the Pocket NC because, again, doing it on the 5-axis mill gives us a lot of options that other makers don't have, and I think will make our pens unique. I plan on following the Jay Pearson from Pearson Work Holdings concept of high density work holding. So even though this is not really a production machine, this is not a production machine at all, I can fixture up just a whole bunch of parts at the same time and be able to walk away from the machine for a long period. So to summarize,
I mostly have to work on the engraving / patterns for the outside of the pen.
my main focus is going to be getting the production fixtures done. Those will let us make more of them and make them accurately. Thank you guys for watching. If you have no idea what we've been talking about, there will be a box right here where you can click and it'll bring you to the playlist where we show the whole process of machining this first prototype. And if you're in the future, it'll show you everything we just talked about. If you have somehow managed to stumble across this video without being subscribed, please do so. If you want to buy something that we make, there's a link down in the description. The pens are not available yet, but we do have our arch tops. should we just end with 20 seconds of silence? Free watch time! Oh gosh.
We made a
I thought you were gonna clap.
Oh. I have a pen.
I know, I did that too.